The conference room hummed with small talk and clicking pens. Sophia glanced at her phone as the screen lit up. She excused herself with a nod and paced to the glass door. She closed it with 2 fingers and leaned lightly against the wall. She answered. "Daniel." Static cracked, then his voice came through, flat as steel. "I'm divorcing you." No preamble. "And I've already sold the apartment." The fluorescent lights buzzed. An elevator chimed and closed. Sophia's hand tightened around the edges of the phone. Her shoulders squared. Her chin lifted a fraction. She kept her voice low. "When?" A small laugh scraped the line. "Already done. Figure out where you're staying." A projector beeped from the conference room, muffled but urgent. Sophia's thumb pressed the volume button once, then once more. Her breathing held steady as the call counted seconds in the corner of the screen. "I heard you," she said. Her tone was level, almost soft, a metronome instead of a flare. "I'm in a meeting." He exhaled into the mic, impatient. "You'll manage." She didn't answer him directly. She looked at the hairline crack near the corner of the glass door. She looked at her reflection and the precise part in her hair. She straightened her jacket hem. She centered her badge. "Goodbye, Daniel." She ended the call first. The screen went dark, leaving a pale ghost of her face. She slid the phone into her bag and zipped the pocket closed. A breath in, a breath out. She pulled the door open and re-entered the room. Conversation dipped, then resumed. Voices blurred behind the glass, a ripple of shoes, chairs, and whispered agendas. Her pen clicked twice, then rested. She took her chair, smoothed her notebook flat, and uncapped a pen. A spreadsheet glowed across the wall in tidy grids. Her eyes followed the columns, the numbers, the steady march of cells. The clock on the wall ticked once, then twice. She wrote the date on the page and drew a small square beside it. The pen hovered for a beat. Then it touched down. After the meeting, Sophia closed her notebook and walked to the elevator alone. The call still sat in the call log, a thin line of text, nothing more. She took a photo of the screen, then cleared the notification and stepped in. By evening, the signs rebuilt themselves like tiles. Late return. Different cologne. A faint glitter on his cuff where no glitter belonged. Daniel hung his jacket on the chair and whistled a song he never listened to. He loosened his tie, asked about dinner, and kept his phone face down. There had been weeks of this. New shirts, tags still tucked under the seam, gym sessions at odd hours, then client drinks at odder ones. Calendar blocks titled Hold. Receipts slid from pockets like confetti after parades. At work, colleagues noticed the adjustments she didn't name. Her ring stayed in a ceramic tray more often. Her eyes checked the time during stand-ups. The sales director asked, casual as weather, "All good at home?" She clicked her pen and said, "All good," and kept typing. In the kitchen, a restaurant bill waited in the fruit bowl. 2 entrees, a bottle of wine they never shared. She set the bill beside a rideshare receipt with a late timestamp and an unfamiliar drop-off near the riverfront towers. She flattened both with a cool palm. The laundry spoke in smaller ways, a lipstick shadow on a collar that smelled like citrus and musk. A single blonde hair looped into his knit scarf. She folded the scarf, then the shirt, then reset the stack as if arranging samples. Neighbors added quiet brushstrokes without knowing. The concierge mentioned packages labeled fitness accessories. The doorman said Daniel had a guest past midnight twice last week. The barista smiled and asked whether to keep making the 2 latte order. Sophia nodded once and paid in cash. Money formed patterns. 2-factor codes changed without comment. Small transfers repeated on Fridays. Daniel laughed them off as client comp and tapped the back of her shoulder as if patting down a wrinkle. During dinner, he answered questions with traffic reports and asked none in return. She tried a simple test one night. "Denver is this weekend, right?" Daniel gripped his fork too high on the metal and cut a steak he wasn't hungry for. "You're misremembering," he said, switching the TV to sports highlights without sound. The chair creaked when he stood. The overhead light carved 2 triangles on the floor and left their faces in shade. Back at the office, the call replayed in the way people stare. A project manager asked if she'd switched to decaf. She smiled and poured the regular. On her desk, a sticky note read, "Client dinner moved, 8 p.m. She circled the time, then wrote the date in neat print. None of it was proof. All of it was weight. Sophia stacked it quietly, scene by scene, until the table felt heavier when she set down her keys. She aligned her pen and steadied breath. Night settled over the apartment like tracing paper. Sophia cleared the table of receipts and set a clean binder in the center. She laid out a phone, a slim scanner, and plastic sleeves. She began with the call log, a screenshot, time, duration, his name. She saved it to a dated folder and to a thumb drive marked S. Receipts from the fruit bowl came next. Restaurant, 2 entrees. Rideshare to the riverfront towers. She flattened each page and fed it through the scanner. Her notes from work followed. The sticky note with client dinner moved, 8 p.m. She photographed it with the timestamp visible and filed it beside the call log. She created a naming pattern. Year, month, day, item, sought number. No spaces. Finances were their own shelf. She downloaded bank statements as PDFs. She highlighted repeating Friday transfers. She kept original and annotated copies in separate subfolders. She opened the credit card portal. 2-factor codes flashed to her phone. She changed the password and printed the confirmation screen. She set alerts for any charge over a modest amount. Wardrobe evidence lived in a different pile. A blonde hair looped in his scarf. A lipstick shadow on a collar. She photographed both beside a ruler and sealed them in clear bags, labeled. At midnight, she texted a single line to Caroline Reed. "Can we meet tomorrow at 9? The bubbles appeared. Confirmed. Bring property records, bank statements, and anything showing dates or third parties. She opened the county title portal. Her refinance packet loaded after verification. The deed listed her as sole owner. She printed a certified copy request and set it atop a manila folder. She gathered warranties and insurance pages, utility bills with her name, a copy of the safe deposit receipt for a box downtown. The thumb drive duplicated, one for home, one for the bank. Security came next. A new email with a neutral handle, forwarding rules that copied bank alerts automatically. A second phone powered with a fresh SIM. Recording set to upload to the cloud when laws allowed. She drew a thin line across a legal pad labeled Timeline. Dates from the last 6 months stepped down the page. Dinners, gym nights, trips. She added the airline schedules he had claimed and circled mismatches. She zipped the binder and slid it into a plain tote. The laptop followed. She placed the thumb drive into a small metal tin and into her coat pocket. Keys, wallet, ID. Before dawn, she visited the bank. A teller opened the safe deposit room and turned away. The tin and a sealed envelope went into box 311. She signed the log and kept the stub. Back home, she set 2 alarms and chose a blazer. The apartment felt clear, ordered, steady. She locked the door and paused at the hallway mirror. Her badge lay flat. Her gaze held level. Nothing had been sent. No warnings, no letters. Only a stack of proof, ready to speak when asked. Morning found Sophia at Caroline Reed's office with a plain tote and a zipped binder. She set them on the table. Caroline opened the rings, lifted sleeves, and moved through the tabs in silence. She underlined dates, circled totals, and wrote a 3-step plan on a legal pad. Deed confirmation, immediate notice to buyer, broker, and escrow. Fraud warning if funds moved. Sophia nodded once. Caroline chose her words like instruments. She drafted the first letter. Subject line, Notice of invalid sale. The body quoted parcel numbers, refinance dates, and the certified deed listing Sophia as sole owner. Attachments lined the footer, PDFs, timestamps, exhibits A through F. A second letter addressed the listing broker. Suspend all activity pending title verification. Escrow received a parallel notice, citing policy sections and hold procedures. Caroline CC'd the title office and saved each sent email to a shared drive. Sophia signed digitally, then in pen on embossed copies. A receptionist slid craft envelopes across the desk. Tracking stickers went on with neat pressure. The courier scanned each label, beep after steady beep. The buyer called before the courier reached the elevator. Speakerphone on, Caroline answered. A voice, startled but measured, asked for proof. Caroline read the deed number, the filing date, the clerk's initials, and offered a video call at 2. The broker followed with a shorter call. "Listing set to hold," he said, typing audibly. "We'll need a statement from the husband." "You'll get a statement from the record," Caroline replied, ending politely. Sophia's phone began to rattle across the table. Call. Text. Voicemail. Daniel's name filled the screen like a headline. Caroline tapped the screen to mute, then turned the phone face down. "Do not engage," she said. "Let the record talk." They returned to the desk work. Escrow replied within the hour. Subject line, status, suspended. Email headers stacked like tiles. Received, acknowledged, on hold. Caroline uploaded confirmations into the binder's digital twin and slid printed copies into fresh sleeves. Another vibration traveled under the face-down phone. Voicemail transcriptions stacked. Demands, threats, then apologies. Sophia reached for a ceramic cup, stirred tea, and set it aside to cool. She kept her pen moving as timestamps arrived. The courier checked back with a thumbs-up photo. Delivered. Caroline clipped the proof to the outgoing folder and crossed off step 1. At 1:45, the buyer's counsel sent a calendar invite. 2 o'clock, 15 minutes, video. Caroline adjusted her webcam, opened the deed PDF, and cued the county portal. Sophia sat within frame, but off-center, shoulders level, eyes steady. 2 began with greetings and screen shares, parcel number, deed image, signature page. The buyer's counsel took notes. Understood. We will suspend the transaction and will seek return of any deposit from the husband. Please direct all future communications through this office, Caroline said. Ms. Hale will not respond directly. After the call, an email arrived from the broker confirming the listing's pause. Escrow logged the hold code. Phone buzzed. The phone vibrated on the desk, then again, stubborn as a metronome. Sophia flipped it to speaker and set it between 2 binder clips. Barbara, she said. His mother inhaled. Daniel says you've been controlling. He's devastated. He says you froze a legitimate sale. Sophia opened a folder and tapped a screenshot. Do you want me to read his messages? Silence traveled the line. Barbara's voice softened. I think we should stop here. Sophia ended the call, turned the phone face down, and poured hot water over a tea bag. A family group chat pinged. Amanda, is the listing truly on hold? Sophia took a photo of the broker's email and the escrow header, status suspended. She sent both without comment. Scene icons bloomed, then disappeared. A private message followed from Amanda. We didn't know. Sophia replied, Please direct questions to counsel, and muted the thread. At the office, colleagues skimmed their eyes toward her, then back to screens. The director's nod was brief, steady. We've got you, he said, passing a printed agenda. She clipped the agenda to her notebook and joined the video huddle. Later, the barista at the lobby cafe tilted her head. 2 latte orders still on? Just 1, Sophia said, sliding cash into the tip jar. Downstairs, the concierge lifted a clipboard. Security has your updated instructions. She initialed the box and thanked him. A neighbor from the 10th floor mentioned seeing Daniel in the foyer, jaw tight, voice low. Sophia listened, thanked her again, and stepped into the elevator. Voicemail transcriptions stacked while she worked, anger, demands. Then a swing toward apology. A mutual friend forwarded a voice note. She's ruining me. Sophia forwarded it to Caroline and wrote the timestamp on her timeline sheet. The buyer's counsel emailed a brief confirmation. Transaction paused pending title verification. Sophia replied, Received. By late afternoon, the rhythm thinned. Notifications slowed, then settled. She opened the gallery and reviewed the courier proof of delivery photo, a gloved hand, a stamped counter, a blurred door. She filed it under outbound, confirmed, and closed the album. Evening cooled the apartment. She packed the binder, slid the courier receipt under the top flap, and wiped the table with one efficient pass. The phone stayed on silent, face down, a faint tremor now and then under the glass. She cracked the window. Air moved the curtain and left the kitchen clock ticking in place. One last email arrived from the broker. Listing remains on hold. Sophia switched off the kitchen light and closed the window. She set a morning reminder on her calendar. Then she stood still, listening to the quiet answer back. She waited for morning. Outside, the city kept moving, indifferent to private storms. The doorbell rang once, then again. A fist followed, quick against the wood. Sophia checked the peephole, slid the chain, and opened to the first stop. Daniel. He pushed to the limit of the chain. Take this. An envelope with the broker's logo. Undo whatever stunt you pulled. His face was wind-burned. His jaw sat too high. Sophia unhooked the chain and stepped back one pace. He strode inside, shoes knocking the hardwood, the envelope slapping his palm. Say it, he said. Say you'll reverse the hold. Sophia went to the dining table and laid out 3 pages in a clean fan. The certified deed listing her as sole owner, the email from the broker, status, hold, and Caroline's letter with the county filing number and date. You can't sell what you don't own. Daniel barked a laugh and set 2 fingers on the deed. Marital property, half mine. She pointed to a line at the bottom, then to his signature on the refinance packet. Filed this spring. You signed. Clerk initials here. He stared at the page like it had tricked him. He jabbed the envelope. The buyer wired a deposit. Do you understand what you've done? Escrow acknowledged the hold, she said. Funds are handled through counsel. She slid the envelope back across the table unopened. It stopped at the deed and waited. The doorbell rang again. Daniel opened before she could move. Lena stepped in with a weekend suitcase and a practiced smile. Her coat was specked with rain. She measured the room with her eyes. So, this is where we're staying, she said. Sophia's hands rested on the chair back. Not you, she said. Not him. She tapped the deed once. This is my home. Lena's smile flattened. Fingers tensed on the handle. She looked to Daniel for a cue he didn't have. It's complicated, he told her, palms out. Paperwork glitch. She's grandstanding. He tried Sophia again. We'll be here a week. Then I'll sort the rest. The transaction is suspended, Sophia said. Buyer's counsel has requested return of any deposit you received. Any contact should go through attorneys. Lena took a half step away. What deposit? Not looking at him. The one you promised for the move, she added, thinner. Daniel reached for the envelope and still didn't open it. Sophia's phone lit with Caroline's name. She pressed speaker and set it beside the deed. Caroline's voice was clear. We're on with buyer's counsel. The listing is on hold. Title shows Ms. Hale as the only owner. Any funds must be returned. Daniel tried to cut in. You don't... Mr. Ward, Caroline said, please direct communications to counsel. Ms. Hale will not engage directly. A second voice joined, formal. Buyer's counsel here. We expect prompt confirmation from escrow regarding the deposit. Failure to cooperate could trigger remedies. Caroline again. Sophia, confirm you received the notices? Sophia. Received. Caroline. We'll follow up at 4. The line clicked off. Silence returned. The vent whisper. The wall clock tick. The soft tap of rain. Sophia dragged a small moving box from the hall and set it by the door. Daniel recognized the labels. His name. 2 rooms. 1 winter. She lifted a key bowl from the console and placed it on the lid. Keys, she said. Today. He looked at her, then the deed. Don't be dramatic. We can fix this. She checked the clock. 4 hours. Then the lock changes. He dropped his tone. Please, Soph. Let me stay. Just tonight. Check in with a hotel, she said. Or a friend. Lena was already halfway to the door. She pulled the suitcase and didn't meet his eye. "I'll wait downstairs," she said, slipping out. The room reduced to 3 objects: the deed, the key bowl, and Daniel. He pulled a ring from his pocket and let 2 keys fall into the bowl. Metal struck ceramic, sharp as a gavel. He hesitated, then added the small brass one. Sophia called the concierge. "Please note changed access status for Mr. Ward." "Confirmed," the concierge said. "Do you want the locksmith at 7? "Yes." She texted the locksmith and wrote the time on a sticky note by the door. Daniel slung his coat and grabbed the box. The cardboard creased where his hand squeezed it. "Last chance," he said quietly. "You don't have to do this." Sophia turned the deed so the signature faced him. "You told me to figure out where I'd live," she said. "I did." He nodded to no one and moved toward the hall. His shoes scuffed, found the rug, then the tile. Sophia followed to the threshold with one hand on the door. He paused in the frame, looked back once, and chose not to speak. The elevator bell chimed. He walked in without turning, the box against his chest, keys gone. Sophia returned to the table. She stacked the documents, aligned edges, slid them into a sleeve. She closed the binder and smoothed her palm over the cover. At 7, the locksmith arrived with quiet tools. The old cylinder came out with a click, the new one seated with a deeper one. A thin band sealed the spare keys. The hall light warmed the entry. Sophia tested the lock once, then twice. The door shut cleanly, the latch catching on the first try. Secure. She set the new ring on the console, square to the bowl. She lifted the deed and rested it under the lamp. Light pooled over the seal. "This is my home," she said, to the paper and to the room. Morning found Daniel in a budget hotel with thin curtains and a loud vent. The suitcase lay open on the chair, sleeves half out. He pulled the tie from his collar and let it drop. His phone lit with email after email. Buyer's counsel requested refund of the deposit. Escrow repeated a deadline. A bank app showed balances and limits he did not like. He stared at the window's gray reflection, then pulled the shade. At the office, compliance asked for 10 minutes. A small room. A glass wall. HR slid a printed note across the table. "Concerns about communications and representation." He signed the acknowledgement and tucked it into his pocket. Access changed after 6 p.m. A project lead reassigned a client with 3 clipped sentences. Conversations moved around him like light avoiding glass. Lena chose a corner table at a quiet cafe. She set a room key down and removed the bracelet he had given her. "You said the deposit covered us." "It will," he said, thinking of nothing he could cite. "It won't," she answered, rising. The chair legs scraped once, then settled back into silence. She left without a backward look. The bell over the door gave a single, indifferent ring. Refund wired. Fee applied. The card balance crept toward its ceiling. He tried 2 friends for a couch. Both were out of town. He paid for another week at the hotel, receipts stacked in the wastebasket like pale shingles. Dinner was bread and an apple from the lobby bowl, coffee cooled to a ring on the desk. Outside the old building, the concierge checked a list. "Access removed," he said, not unkindly. Daniel nodded at the elevator anyway. The button never lit. A neighbor from the 10th floor passed by with a grocery bag. She offered a tight smile and kept walking. Group chats dimly hummed, screenshots of hold and threads about taking space. He called Barbara. She suggested he let the lawyers handle it. He slid down the wall of the hallway and listened to the air handler thrum. Rain began in even strokes against the glass canopy. He kept still until the rhythm steadied his breathing, then stood. Night broke open with neon across wet pavement. He pulled his suitcase along the sidewalk, wheels tapping seams in the concrete. He paused at the intercom of the old apartment. His knuckle hovered and, after a beat, fell away. Down the block, a bus hissed and moved on. He followed the curb instead, hood up, head down. Shoes damp, coat heavy, He kept the handle tight. The suitcase rolled on, voice of plastic on stone. Behind him, the city kept moving, indifferent to private storms tonight. Morning spread a quiet layer over the apartment. Sophia opened the blinds and cracked the window. Cool air slipped across the sill and lifted the curtain once. She filled a kettle and set it to heat. She tied her hair. She laced her running shoes. She stretched at the doorway, touched the frame, and stepped into the hall. In the stairwell, her footsteps set a simple rhythm. Outside, she jogged 1 block, then 2, then home. Back inside, she poured tea into a wide mug. She laid a weekly planner on the counter and uncapped a marker. Boxes waited. She steadied her right hand. She wrote 3 lines. Call Caroline. Confirm locksmith receipt. Finalize deck. She straightened the rug. She wiped the table. She moved the old coffee table to the curb with a small free sign. She boxed 2 frames from the hallway and tucked them into a closet. She hung a new print over the sofa. She shifted the floor lamp toward the corner and tested the dimmer. Warm light pooled. A vase of green stems stood center on the shelf. She called the concierge and confirmed guest access rules. Yes to Lauren at 6. No to Daniel. She heard keys click. Logged, the concierge said. The locksmith's email arrived with an invoice and a photo of the sealed key set. She downloaded both and filed them under Home, Security. A second email from escrow confirmed the hold, unchanged. She tagged it and closed the tab. The binder came out of the tote. She slid the invoice behind the deed and clipped the stack. She added a yellow flag to mark the page. The thumb drive returned to its small metal tin. At noon, she met a client in a glass meeting room. Her deck was 12 slides. The opening was a clean arc of need, plan, result. She kept her sentences short and left space after each point. A handshake sealed a memorandum of understanding. Back home, Lauren arrived with a box of books and a grin. They shelved the paperbacks by height and the hardcovers by color. Dinner was pasta and salad at the counter. They washed dishes together and hung the towel straight. At the door, Lauren hugged her once, light and sure. A text followed on the elevator down. Proud of you. Sophia checked bank alerts on her phone. Salary landed in the personal account. She moved a portion to savings and saved the confirmation as a PDF. She zipped the binder and put it away. Evening built a soft outline across the room. The new print held its color under the lamp. The plant by the window leaned slightly and looked watered enough. She sat by the glass, opened the planner, and ticked off every box. The city hummed below, even and distant. She closed the book and lined the marker beside it. Music lowered to a hush. She stood, switched off the lamp, and let the window stay a finger wide for air. Months later, the apartment holds its new shape. A plant leaning slightly toward the glass. Sophia ties her laces at dawn and steps into a cool hallway. She runs the river path, returns, and waters the fern. A kettle clicks. The planner opens to a tidy week. At work, a workshop room hums with chatter. She tests the mic, clears the screen, and opens 12 slides. Hands lift phones for photos. She keeps sentences spare and sure. A handshake at the end. A short memo signed. An email lands with a subject she likes. Green light. She pins the invite to the calendar and straightens a stack of decks. Evenings are simple, books in a new order. A framed print centered over the sofa. Friends drift in with takeout and small jokes about paint colors. The concierge greets her by name. Guest access lists stay current. Packages arrive on time. She signs with a blue pen and thanks the clerk by habit. Across town, Daniel drags a suitcase across cracked tile. A dryer thumps in the shared laundry room. A receipt curls on a nightstand that is not his. Compliance emails a reminder about conduct. He replies, yes, received. A project leaves his queue with no comment. He prints 2 job listings and folds them into a jacket pocket. He eats a sandwich on a bus bench. Coffee in a paper cup cools against the wind. He checks a bank app and closes it fast. Cut to Sophia on a small stage with a steady light. Applause starts crisp and settles into quiet. She steps down, accepts a book shipment, and signs for it in the lobby. Cut to Daniel under a buzzing vent. A cracked phone screen reflects a login. A refund fee posts again, thinner by a notch each time. The city turns to late summer. Sophia repots a plant and wipes the window strip clean. She sets a timer and reads 3 pages before dinner. Paperwork moves in the background. Counsel forwards a brief update and a tentative date. She files the note and closes the laptop. Night widens. The room keeps its warm outline. Down the street, laughter rises from a patio. In a different neighborhood, wheels clatter across uneven stone. Daniel passes the old building without pressing the intercom. He keeps walking. Sophia turns the lamp to low and draws the curtain a hand's width. Evening settles in with warm edges and a quiet room. The lamp pools light over a neat stack of folders. The window stands a hand's width open. City sound is distant and ordinary. Sophia straightens the binder on the table. She aligns the corners with one slow press. She pours tea, waits for steam to fade, and sets the cup aside. A breath in, a breath out. Her phone blinks once. An email subject clears the last square. Final step scheduled. She reads the time, taps, confirmed, and saves the receipt. The binder opens and receives the page without fuss. Keys rest in a small ceramic bowl. New teeth catch the lamp's glow. She lifts the ring, tests the door, returns it to the bowl. Metal answers with a soft, certain click. The deed lies under the lamp, seal bright as a coin. She draws a fingertip along the margin and closes the cover. The clock on the wall keeps even time. No hurry anywhere in the room. She waters the plant by the window and wipes the sill dry. She folds the dish towel and hangs it square. She turns the burner knob to off and listens to silence confirm it. The apartment holds steady. Across town, Daniel passes the old building. He stays on the sidewalk, a suitcase trailing behind. He does not press the intercom. He keeps walking under a streetlight that does not flicker. Back in the apartment, Sophia stacks today's mail. She recycles the long envelopes and keeps the stamped one. She places it beneath the binder, flush with the edge, a small order inside an ordinary task. She dims the lamp one notch. She closes the window to a thin line. Curtains tuck themselves into stillness. Tea has cooled. She drinks it anyway. The planner opens to a page with boxes checked. A pencil ticks the final one, small and brisk. She closes the cover and lays the pencil parallel. The table looks composed, simple, done. She stands at the window and lets the city hum find its level. Tail lights stream. An elevator glides. Someone calls a dog home. Life continues without applause, and that is a relief. She draws the curtain 2 fingers wide and leaves the night to itself. On the counter, the pen waits beside a small envelope for the morning. Tomorrow, she will sign the final page, return the folder to counsel, and walk home by the river. No ceremony, no speeches, just steps, leaves, light on water. The rest will file itself in order, like papers settling flat inside a drawer. She will cook, call a friend, and sleep without alarms tonight. He thought he'd written her ending. It turned out to be the first page of her new beginning. She turns off the lamp. The room keeps its outline in the window's thin glow. Keys where they belong. Binder where it should be. Lock set. Sophia closes the door, and the latch answers once, clean and sure.